Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to say it's hard to see for the Zoom meeting. I'm wearing a shirt for the Western and Southern Open. Sports, yay, is it coming back or whatever? Well, I'm not quite sure about that, but it is actually going on right now. The Western and Southern Open in very restricted forms, but like a lot of other sports, they said they were taking the day off today. Just because of Black Lives Matter. So it's not going on today, but I'm still wearing my shirt from it because it's still going on this week. So anyway, I just had to give a sports comment and throw in the piece about, being in protest. And John's like, well, of course, some of the people that are playing, I'm like, well, we won't even talk about that. But it was just... I just had to bring up a sports reference, and there you go, Western and Southern Open, and they're taking a day off today because of everyone and their choices that they're making, and so I don't have that to watch, so I figured I might as well read poetry. Just anyway, I've got two poems. They're relatively new. Back in the day, the gentleman that started the open mic that I ended up taking over in Chicago did a bunch of dreams poems, and so I tried to do some of that in light of him from his memory for that. So there's this one that I'm going to share with you, and it's called Exposed and Abandoned. At first, we were in our new apartment. I think it was in Logan Square. I was about to take a bath. I had a towel wrapped around me. Even though we lived in a first-floor apartment, the windows were partially open so we could let the fresh air flow. The blinds didn't go all the way down, so I could see people walking by, and one man stopped, tried to look in. This is when you started writing derogatory messages on the dirty window glass. I guess that was your attempt to stop him. Of course, it didn't work. So then the man came over and you started yelling at each other through the 6-inch open window pane. And there I was, wrapped in a towel, hoping I could just take some time for a bath. I wasn't even being confronted, but still, I clenched my towel securely around me. I felt so exposed. Later, I was walking near the front door of our new apartment, and one or two people just walked in. I stopped because they looked like they knew they were supposed to be there, so I said, I think you're in the wrong place. They looked at me, and one said that this was where they were supposed to be meeting people for the wedding. Apparently, they were in town for this wedding, so I asked about the address, and they mentioned, too, one of them mentioned the street Waveland, and I said, well, that one sounds like it's here, but we just moved here. And they panicked, wondering if they had the wrong address, or if it was just them. And I don't remember them leaving. They just stayed. Because even though they had the wrong address, they thought they had more of a right to be there than me. But the next thing I knew is that you're with me again, and all these people decided to go to a diner for breakfast in Chicago, and for some unknown reason, we were going to go along with them. They were driving, so we piled into their car with them, you and I in the front, like I was in the middle space, but close to you, and more people for this wedding were crammed into the back. And they must have had multiple cars, and they pulled up. I saw the diner across the street, and everyone was piling out to go together, to be together inside. You started to get out so that I would have room to move, and I told you that I had to first get the newspaper pages out of my shoes before I could get out of the car and go to the diner. I had no idea why these newspaper pages were in my shoes, but, I couldn't go walking down the streets of Chicago with newspaper pages coming out of my shoes. You said, okay, you'll meet me inside so that you could find where they were all going, and there I was, in a stranger's car, taking newspaper pages out from inside of my shoes. I guess I just left the newspaper pages on the floor of the car when I finally was finished, and then I walked and I opened the door to the diner. I looked around the diner, scanned, searched. I couldn't find you or any of the group of people that I belonged to anywhere. A French hostess looked at me, and I said I was with a large group that just came in. One man's name was John, and then I believe she said, "Say, but not the table 6, but 16. Or maybe that was just a number of people who came. But she put a menu in her hand and she started looking too. But even after soliciting the help of a woman who spoke another language, I was still alone and suddenly felt so abandoned. That is the weirdest set of dream things, right? Sorry. And that happens in one night. You're kidding me. So I'm going to go to one more, and it'll be a short one for you. And it'll be another periodic table Twitter-length poem, and it'll just be about one. And I've been finding more and more interesting things about elements to be able to cram into a tweet, so it's a really short. And this one is for the element manganese, and it's manganese can cure all. We fight for our lives, saving ourselves from viruses. But now, I hear, positively charged manganese complexes protect human proteins, but not virus DNA. Making manganese antioxidant vaccines sterilize microscopic bugs, helping our insides run, and manning the front lines to save us too. Did you realize that like manganese could actually do this? You learned these crazy things for it, but there was your Twitter-length poem about things that manganese can do for you.
I had no idea.
I started learning all these things, and I'm like, let me cram this into a tweet.
You're very informative with your elemental poetry.
Somebody just sent me a thing that I could get a mask that had the periodic table on it. It says, I wear my mask periodically, and I just about died. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I don't know if I'm gonna get it, but I'm like, I saved it, I forwarded it, I'm like, that's the coolest thing. So thank you very much for listening, you guys. Thank you.
Elementary, my dear.
Elementary.